Just a couple of different thoughts about the case of William Tyrrell. Just firstly, with regards to the balcony, the theory that maybe William fell off the balcony, the front balcony, or leapt off it, pretending to be Spiderman, jumping into a tree, thinking he was going to stick, because Spiderman sticks to the buildings, doesn't he? Or he spins and throws web and swings down. You might think, well, how did William get onto that front-facing balcony, the one that goes along the house as it kind of cantilevers over the hill side of the property? But the balcony, the depth comes up to practically nothing, and there's actually a gate at this end of the balcony, so you can come off the rear veranda, walk a few meters to the side of the house through an open gate if it were left open, and just step onto that balcony that ends up being very high over the garden of the property. Now sure, William might have fallen off, jumped off, been thrown off, pushed off, whatever. But was this when foster father's there or foster mother? Is the foster mother making up the story on behalf of them both? Because a thought occurred to me. You know, you'd assume that the father's gone off to his appointment in his new car. The new car that they bought, I think, after the foster mother's father died. They inherited some money. They went to Bali. Bali is where they bought the Spiderman costume for William. And it's funny because he was still enthralled with it months later. I guess kids are. It looked pretty new if you ask me, but I guess that could be the case, you know. And I shouldn't really be starting to go off on a tangent about when the photo on the deck was taken, because it's interesting if it was taken on the day that they state, because of the shoe situation. We've talked about the shoe situation here, was it 8 months ago or something, and William is barefoot in the photos, so it's interesting in that respect. But with regards to the car, and now why Nana's, you know, foster Nana's vehicle is being forensically examined. Did foster father take foster grandmother's car on his 1.5-hour little trip, right? Is this a sleight of hand? Did this get overlooked somehow? He wouldn't want to take a new vehicle, because if you take a new vehicle, that's 100% GPS, and that's not going to work, is it, if he wants to go somewhere and hide William? So I don't know if he's sort of taken it and has made a couple of detours on his way to Lakewood to fulfill an alibi by making a Skype call. I don't know how this all fits together, but I was just wondering about that. What do you reckon? You know, if Nana's older car was taken, it might not be traceable. Did the foster father take it? Is that why it needs to be checked? I don't know. I still think it's very possible the foster mother left out the bit where, when looking for William up and down the street and sort of down to the old riding school and that sort of thing, I think she might have left out the fact that she was driving her own mother's car. So it's just curious. But yeah, in case you were wondering about it, well, how would William get on the balcony? Surely they knew he went inside the house and not down into the garden. Well, you can go around that little corner from the ground level veranda at the back of the house, across some grass, and you can either keep on going down, you know, the lawn and across to next door neighbours, or you can simply take one little step up onto the ground level end of that large veranda. And if that gate was open, William could have gone up there unsupervised. You know, maybe the foster mother is saying, well, no, William was roaring. It wasn't him calling out or screaming in pain. I don't want my mother to know that. I've told my mother that he's just being a tiger or a lion or some such shit. Okay, we all know this isn't true. We all know this has been bullshit. You know, and accidents happen, and unfortunately terrible accidents happen to children when they're in foster care. I mean, there was one father who killed a little girl. Her name was Tiana, I believe. She was 12 years old. She was being fostered in a family with teenaged boys. This should not happen. Who made that fucking decision? And one of these boys was sleeping with her, and I think she was going to tell, or she may even have been pregnant, and the father took care of it. That whole family, you know, was clearly traumatized. They all were holding this secret, and this little 12-year-old's lost her life because she was abused in the foster care system. That's not an accident. That's bad placement, for one thing. A 12-year-old girl going into a home with older teenaged boys is just a recipe for disaster. This is just biology. You could have made a better choice, Department of Human Services. Now, this may not have happened in every family with teenage boys, of course not. But it's a risk, it's a high risk factor, and we all know it. And any idiot, even without an education and without children of their own, would understand this. You just understand it instinctively. And accidents happen where kids that might be much loved, get into trouble. They have an accident, you know, and maybe poor decisions are made for self-preservation, for selfish fucking reasons, because these people are just such incomprehensibly awful people. Their lives matter more than anybody else's. They're somehow more entitled and more special. They already felt entitled to William and his sister to have for the rest of their lives, not as guardians through a foster system, because to me, clearly they were trying to get around adoption laws. They wanted to fast track, and I don't care who argues with me over that. That's clearly what they were trying to do. And something might have happened to William in their care, and they didn't want to lose the foster daughter. Sure, you can understand not wanting to lose the foster daughter. They want to lie to everybody because of this. They want everybody else to suffer the not knowing, to suffer not knowing what happened to William, where he is, not being able to lay him to rest anywhere where they can visit him. I mean, the exquisite, devilish torture that they have put people through. This should be punishable to the end of the law, you know, and I hope there is some resolution, and if indeed that's what's happened, I hope that both or whomever of those foster parents that knew what happened to William and were complicit, I hope they're brought to justice. If they truly don't know, yeah, they're suffering as much as everyone else, but it's impossible to believe that they don't know what happened to William when you look at everything that they've ever done and ever said. But it's impossible. It's actually very hard to lose a whole child. You know, a dog my dog doesn't want to run away, but people's dogs do. Cats hide. Some teenagers want to run away. And horrible things do happen. I mean, look what happened with Cleo Smith, a little girl abducted. But this is really rare. This is rare. It is hard to lose a whole child, and a child that's in your care in a very small town, in a dead-end street, a quiet street, a street with a few houses, large blocks, no through traffic. You know, is this why these cars were invented? Suddenly the foster mother's inventing cars, and it's just a nightmare. So yeah, I just had that question about the vehicle, about what vehicle did the foster father actually take. He wouldn't want to taint his own vehicle forensically, and he wouldn't want to be tracked by a vehicle's GPS system or computer system, which his modern, new, expensive 2014 or 13 model, whatever it was that he bought in that year, he wouldn't want to... What was that diving in there? He wouldn't want to be tracked. And I thought, well, maybe he took that car. And that's why it's being looked at, finally. Anyway, I'm not really saying anything that I haven't said before, obviously. I just want to vent about it again because, I mean, obviously this situation that's happening now here in Australia, I mean, it really is gripping the entire nation. Finally, a lot of people are really paying attention. There's been very few people talking about William Tyrrell, even though it's a very famous case. There's very few YouTubers, for example. There's been some activists on here with only a few hundred subscribers who made series of YouTube videos. I've made a few because I wanted to talk about it with you, because I was expecting inquest findings to be revealed, and I wanted to prep you for that. So I wanted to tell you what I thought. But now finally, you know, this whole nation is inflamed with the thoughts of what might have happened, and I think some people finally are coming around to the possibility that the foster parents had something to do with it. Maybe the foster grandmother. They know what happened. Foster grandmother is now, she has died also, so both her and her husband are dead, the foster mother's parents. The house was long sold, and when the foster grandmother died, her car was sold as well. And that's that car that's being searched now. The grandmother suffered dementia, and I think people need to realise that this can be a factor, because this woman can be manipulated, the truth can be manipulated. She might really not know what went on, what the course of events were, or the timeline, and she would be very easily manipulated, as I said, into believing, oh, she was hearing William just playing rather than hearing William hurting himself. And I think it is significant, you know, the tree, the blood, the idea of blood, the climbing the tree, the stories that the foster, where you going? That the foster mother has told. I think, you know, there's always that grain of truth, isn't there, and that significance in these things. And I feel like maybe because if anything was found, there needed to be an explanation. But yeah, what do you think? Is it possible that the foster father actually drove away in foster grandmother's vehicle, because this was part of the deception and part of covering up their actions, because they didn't want to be responsible for child neglect, and they didn't want to lose William's sister from their care. You know, they probably felt like they had everything to lose. Maybe they sickly justified it to themselves because they said, well, look, you know, this is an accident, or this could happen to anyone, or, you know, because William is rambunctious, because he's another rambunctious foster child, right? Okay. You know, they can justify it to themselves. Well, you know, maybe she just needed to have a little more energy than a 49-year-old might have had to deal with a rambunctious 3-year-old, right? This is one reason why young children should not be placed into the care of an older person. And this might seem ageist. Well, I'm this age myself. I'm 49. Whilst I might have liked to have had a child when I thought it was still possible at 40, 39, 40, 41, 42, you know, I know right now that, yes, I'd rather they were already 7 or 8 years old than 1, 2 or 3 or 4, you know. It is exhausting, particularly with the health issues that I have, just with, you know, I suffer from exhaustion a lot. Today, my arthritis is extremely bad, but I have to walk my dog because he's missed out too many times, and I'm in a lot of pain. So I can't imagine trying to manage and give a 4-year-old child what they actually need, you know. Can you see the snake in the water there? Can you see that snake there? He's got his little mouth open there. I don't know what it looks like on the phone, but it might look like a just like a sort of a bit of a leaf. See if I throw that. Halfway again is the snake. Don't know if it's a keel snake. I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, I'll be quiet now. I'll see he's swimming away over there. Can you see? Hope I'm aiming my phone in the right direction. I'll take dog away. Stop. Good. Yeah. Just wanted to talk that out. So I wanted to explain about the front balcony, that yes, little William Tyrrell could get onto that high balcony. It wouldn't be a case of Nana saying, oh no, but William didn't go into the house, because it would have just taken someone not taking enough care to make sure a young child can't be on that balcony unsupervised, i.e. the little gate at the end of the balcony at the ground level just being open. And the reason why I know that it was probably often open was in the walkthrough with the foster father that eventually happened 6 days later, the one where he goes, oh, I've been a Cub Scout, venturers, etc., etc. Oh, whoop-dee. That means you looked for William perfectly. This is what he's trying to say. Maybe it means he also had some bushcraft. Maybe it means he knows how to bury a 3-year-old's little body. Wow, wonder about that, eh? But you can see that the gate is open in that video, you know, so you can tell what the layout of that house is. It actually gives access, and William could have had access, and William could have been unsupervised by, you know, these things happen, but these are foster children. They've put their hands up and said, yeah, we can do a better job. We are going to make sure these children get to 18 or however old it is when they get to go back to their biological parents who love them beyond measure. You know, we're going to do a great job. And in fact, she hasn't. She's, you know, sat around with Nana reading the newspaper maybe and having a cup of tea and, yeah, not watching William. Anyway, speak to you later.